This woman wanted the man in front of her to let go of memories of his late wife and embrace a new life.
실은 나도 그랬어요. 9살 때 엄마를 잃었거든. 믿고 의지한 사람을 그렇게 허망하게 보내고 나니까 그때까지 죽자 살자 중요하게 생각했던 것들이 말짱 헛것이 되더라고.
While the girl smiled brightly, the man's face was full of pity. Then, the girl received a call.
엄마. 새엄마. 제가 다시 전화드릴게요, 새엄마.
Inevitably, she was labeled a big liar and thrown out of the car, with her belongings tossed out the window. This is the kind of movie that has audiences laughing out loud while also showing the beauty of love. The girl's name is Misu, a brilliant surgeon who, due to a medical accident, finds herself and her best friend in trouble. To return to her job, she needs the help of a firefighter. But when Misu approached the firefighter, Kanael, to explain her situation, he not only refused to help but also thought she deserved her predicament. If she hadn't run fast enough, she would have gotten a beating from him. This setback didn't discourage Misu. Instead, it sparked a crazy idea. She decided to use her charms. As long as Kanael falls for her, he won't refuse to help. In a twist of fate, they meet again. Misu sees Kanael directing traffic and boldly confesses her feelings. However, Kanael immediately saw through her intentions and not only rejected her but also raised a hand to warn her to stay away. The next day, after carefully dressing up, she stood on a bridge, pretending to jump into the river, hoping Kanael would heroically save her, but a slip of the foot completely ruined her image in front of Kanael. Coldly, Kanael took Misu to the police station, accusing her of filing a false report and wasting public resources. To avoid punishment, she dragged her friend along to join the firefighter volunteers, becoming a medical firefighter. During the welcome ceremony, Misu playfully winked at Kanael, who responded with a look of helpless resignation. Soon, they were dispatched on their first emergency call, which was to save a drunken man threatening to jump off a building. Every time this man drank, he would stand on the rooftop, shouting about jumping off, which annoyed the rescue team members who frequently had to save him. The captain, unconcerned, sent Kanael upstairs to handle it. Kanael's approach, however, left everyone in shock. In a daring move, Kanael hugged the drunkard and leaped off the building with him, giving the man a real taste of flying. Though this extreme solution was a quick fix, it highlighted a dangerous approach to the job. For the first time, Misu found herself intrigued by Kanael after this daring rescue. At the evening welcome party, Misu openly pursued Kanael in front of everyone, leaving him quite frustrated, while the other team members applauded their approval. After the party ended, they deliberately left the two alone. Once everyone had left, Misu suggested they have a drink together. Kanael declined and was about to get in his car and leave when he heard the sound of someone falling behind him. He turned to see Misu lying on the ground. In a panic, Kanael quickly carried Misu on his back and rushed towards the hospital. Beads of sweat began to form on Kanael's forehead as he hurried along. Just as Kanael was about to reach his limit, Misu woke up and told him she had fainted due to low blood pressure and just needed some water to feel better. Despite Misu's poor acting, Kanael eventually relented. Soon, Kanael, unable to hold his liquor, was drunk, having been coaxed into drinking too much by Misu. In his drunken state, Kanael clung tightly to a chair. With no other option, Misu had to call the fire captain for help, and only then was Kanael taken home. The next day, Misu noticed a photograph in Kanael's car. Unable to resist her persistent curiosity, she badgered Kanael until he reluctantly revealed that it was a picture of his late wife. Misu finally understood why Kanael was so closed off. Determined to help him move on, the carefree Misu began her performance, leading to the scene at the beginning.
실은 나도 그랬어요. 9살 때 엄마를 잃었거든. 믿고 의지한 사람을 그렇게 허망하게 보내고 나니까 그때까지 죽자 살자 중요하게 생각했던 것들이 말짱 헛것이 되더라고. 엄마. 새엄마. 제가 다시 전화드릴게요, 새엄마. 아이 새끼 진짜.
Despite several setbacks, Misu was not discouraged. Instead, they fueled her even more determined pursuit. The following day, she prepared a homemade lunch for Kanael, only to watch him promptly throw it in the trash. As others expressed sympathy, Misu, like a prophet, produced another lunchbox and handed it to Kanael. When Kanael attempted to throw this one away, a hefty team member nearby finally spoke up to stop him. The meal ended in a flurry of commotion. After a mission, Misu lagged behind the rest of the team on the way back. Kanael noticed that Misu wasn't in her usual spot beside him in the front seat and was puzzled about her absence. After checking, he realized Misu wasn't in any of the other vehicles either. Sensing something was wrong, Kanael rushed back to the scene of the mission and found Misu collapsed on the ground, having fallen ill again. As Kanael picked up Misu to leave, the cold, heavy doors automatically shut, and cold air started pouring in through the vents. Suddenly, they found themselves in a dangerous situation. Kanael tried using his phone to call for help but discovered there was no signal. Meanwhile, the newly conscious Misu had no idea of their perilous situation and thought the misty surroundings were romantic. Initially, the two managed to keep themselves warm by moving around, but as the temperature plummeted, they began to weaken. Misu soon passed out again. In desperation, Kanael removed his jacket and used his own body heat to keep Misu warm. Fortunately, their teammates noticed the missing pair and returned to the cold storage to search for them, rescuing them just in time. After this brush with death, Kanael's attitude toward Misu started to change. Not long after, Misu had adapted to her role as a medical firefighter. She always waited for Kanael to return from fires, ready to treat his injuries with care. Kanael's perception of Misu began to shift as well. When their eyes met, Misu would finally shyly look away, and a subtle tension started to linger between them. After work one day, Kanael and Misu went to the beach. Under the setting sun, they walked barefoot on the tranquil sand, enjoying each other's company. Before they knew it, they began their first deep conversation, sharing stories from their pasts. Misu spoke lightheartedly about her father, who inspired her to become a doctor. Seeing her relaxed demeanor, Kanael couldn't resist inviting her to dinner. After a few drinks, Kanael's eyes began to glaze over, and he finally opened up about his late wife. Listening to Kanael's nostalgic tale, Misu gained a deeper understanding of him and saw his depth of emotion and loyalty. However, when Kanael looked up, his gaze became deep and tearful as he spoke of his longing for his late wife. Misu realized that Kanael was drunk and mistook her for his wife. She was deeply moved by this man who seemed so strong and tough but had such a vulnerable side. As Kanael lay down to rest, he mumbled in his sleep. Misu gently patted him until he drifted off peacefully. The next morning, a tender kiss brought them closer in their relationship. In the days that followed, Kanael and Misu became inseparable, both at work and in life. Misu sternly reminded Kanael not to work so recklessly when she saw his injuries. Suddenly, a knock on the door startled Kanael. He hastily pushed Misu into a room to hide. Inside, Misu noticed the makeup and photos on the table, feeling a pang of jealousy and admiration for Kanael's devotion. When Kanael returned to the room, he found Misu had already left. Sitting in her car, Misu wondered if she could ever replace Kanael's late wife or if she would always be just a substitute. Kanael also began to question if his feelings for Misu were genuine or just a way to fill the void left by his wife. Meanwhile, Misu's medical accident was about to be concluded. Without Kanael's help, she risked losing her medical license, as the accident was due to her misdiagnosis. Staunchly principled, Kanael firmly refused Misu's request for assistance. This painful disagreement cast a shadow over their relationship. Misu went to the hospital, hoping to find the patient's family and seek their forgiveness, but a locked door blocked her path. Sensing something was wrong, Misu grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher and smashed the door open. To their shock, they discovered the family member had attempted suicide by hanging next to his wife's hospital bed. Having failed to save his wife, Misu was determined not to let him die too. Driven by desperation, she frantically worked to bring him back from the brink of death, ultimately saving his life. That night, they were dispatched to another emergency. A small car, severely damaged by a collision, was stuck on the train tracks with a train rapidly approaching. The team worked frantically, lifting with all their might to move the car off the tracks. Just in the nick of time, they managed to rescue the woman inside. Watching Kanael, who had narrowly avoided being hit by the train, look at the woman who had died in the ambulance, Misu finally understood the true meaning of life. She admitted her mistake in the medical accident and realized why Kanael refused to help her. Some mistakes cannot be undone, and the only choice is to accept the punishment. She ultimately chose to resign, ending her career as a doctor. During a dangerous mission, a building under construction collapsed, trapping a construction worker's legs under a beam. Due to the damage to the structure, there was no opportunity to execute a rescue plan. The only hope was to wait for the building to collapse entirely and then rescue the person from inside. However, attempting a rescue now could cause greater destruction, possibly claiming the lives of the firefighters involved. The team had to deliver the grim reality to the injured worker, who, although unwilling to accept it, could only hope for one last call home.
좀 많이 늦을 것 같아. 아, 지호하고 제이는? 아니, 뭐하러 깨워. 기다리지 말고 일찍 자.
Beside him, Kanael seemed moved by something and volunteered to stay behind and take a chance, despite the risk to his own life. Once the team left, Kanael immediately began preparing for the rescue. Lying on the ground, the injured man thought of his family and couldn't help but ask Kanael if he had someone he loved deeply. Hearing this, Misu's image flooded Kanael's mind. In what he believed might be his final moments, Kanael finally confronted his feelings. Realizing he had fallen deeply in love with the confident and beautiful woman, Kanael started the jack, and as the stone was gradually lifted, the injured worker was freed. Just as they were about to leave, a massive collapse began, and both were buried under the rubble. The next day, Misu heard on the car radio that a firefighter was trapped under the rubble. Knowing that Kanael never shied away from danger, she guessed that the buried person was likely him. Thankfully, after a whole night of digging, they finally found the injured worker in Kanael, but Kanael remained unconscious. His teammates stayed by his side, anxiously transporting him to the hospital. Shortly after they set off, they were stuck in traffic. Suddenly, Kanael seemed to awaken from a dream. Looking at his two frightened teammates, he pushed open the door, ready to leave. Upon realizing he was going to find Misu, his teammates smiled with relief, knowing this meant Kanael had moved on from the shadow of his late wife and was embracing a new life. The incident felt like a brush with death for Kanael, a reminder that the dead are gone, but the living must continue. His heart now longed for a future with Misu. Fate brought them together again by the roadside. Seeing Misu crying out of worry for him, Kanael finally stopped suppressing his feelings and lifted her high in the air. At this moment, I couldn't help but admire Misu's courage. No matter how many times Kanael rejected her, she never gave up, persistently pursuing her love with confidence, beauty, vulnerability, and boldness. Even someone as emotionally guarded as Kanael couldn't resist. In the world of love, no one belongs to anyone from the start. Only by bravely striving for it do we have the chance to seize our happiness. Don't wait until it's too late and regret not having been a little braver. This is a wonderful romantic comedy filled with laughter and tears. Of course, no explanation can replace the original film. If you're interested, I highly recommend watching the full version. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.